today I'm going to be showing you my Summer Suburban Garden, just a little tour. We'll also take a look at me planting some of these flowers a few weeks or months ago so you can see how far they have come.
And if you've never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome to Marlene's How-Tos, my home and garden channel.
So let's go ahead and start out with a mailbox. And out here you can see I have this beautiful clematis vine is growing on a beautiful trellis right there. And it's surrounded by cone flowers, some older, some newer. And it's a perfect thing for them because they like when their roots are kept cool. So it's a double duty right there. And just to show you what it looked like in the springtime when they were just coming up. And the clematis, I've had it for over 12 years. So, they just keep coming back every spring. And the tulips are a beautiful way to start off the mailbox. And then, the clematis come in afterwards. It's such a good conversation piece and a nice greeting for our mail carriers. Let's go ahead and take a look at the porch. So up here you can see my beautiful container garden that I did a few months ago. And the begonias are still looking fabulous. They're holding up quite well to the heat. The caladiums, of course, they're at their peak right now because it is summer. And they're quite large and, just beautiful. And one downside to it, though, is, when it comes to the colder time, they're not going to survive. So I will have to take up the roots and, save them, store them for next year. But in the meantime, we'll enjoy them. And down here you can see the creeping Jenny, how far they have gotten to. And I stopped trimming them back. I said, let them just grow and just be beautiful. And just to show you how I started with them, a few months ago in this same container garden right here, you can see how small they were and how far they have gotten. And you can always check that out. I'll try to link it at the end for you so you can take a look and see step by step if you wanted to do that for next year to have something looking fabulous like this right here. I think it just complements the area so well. Very striking by the door, I think. So next we're going to take a look at the walkway. And this is called Liriope. And I've had these for quite a few years as well too. Only thing is because we had a bad winter this year, they did not bloom this time, which is fine. Plants have to take their break and come back up. They'll be bigger and better. I just feed them to make sure they have enough energy so that next year they'll be perfectly fine. So we don't have to worry too much about them. So over here now, this is Impatiens. And I love Impatiens because they're very low maintenance. You don't even have to deadhead them. When the flowers fade, they fall off. You don't have to worry about any of that. And they just get bigger and better every time. And take a look at this is how I started out right here, back in the spring in this container. And over time, they just came up so nice. And they're holding up pretty well in the summer heat. I did put some mulch on there to make sure of that. And just feed them every now and then. And this is what they have become. And right behind them, you can see my croton right here. I've had this for a couple of years now. It's gotten bigger and bigger. I repotted it, I think, 2 years ago. I'm going to have to repot them again. So they make perfect companions, the white along with it. And you can see that they're not very leggy down there. They still look good. And they have a good ways to go because these are going to keep coming up until the first frost. And then they'll have to be taken out. And this right here, these are my begonias. And I put these in smaller containers because they will grow as large, as the container allows them to. I wanted to use this stand that they're in. So that's why this time I actually went ahead and put them in these smaller pots. You can see how they started out here. And I think I'm probably going to paint the stand that they're on. You can maybe leave me a comment to tell me what color you think would really work well to help whatever is above it to pop. So this is how they're looking when they just got planted back in the spring. I did 2 pink ones and the white one in the center. And they held up so nicely. I planted them quite healthy and they're doing really well in spite of all the heat that we've been having recently. So more power to these begonias. One of my favorite flowers, actually. So next we're going to take a look at some more caladiums over here. And these ones were planted by themselves. And, as the newer leaves come out, they get larger and larger. And this is the same story again. I'm going to have to, take them up before the cold weather hits. And we're going to go ahead and take a look out at the flower bed to see what's happening out there. So this is what it was like in mid-spring when I had planted my petunias right here. And I put them with some marigolds in this container right here. And you can see how they're looking. And this is a purple wave. It really looks like fuchsia to me, but that's what they call it. Over here in this larger container, the ones that were there, I lost them. They got some blight that knocked them out. But I'll talk about that, how you can recover your container if something like this ever happens to you. There's another one on the far side right there. And then over here, we have some beautiful lilies that were in bloom at that time. And you can see that they had the roses back there. So this is what the coneflower became once it came, started to bloom. And you can see everything is filling out. This was like in the midsummer, how they were looking right there. And of course, the pollinators, they come out and they're doing their thing. And these are good too if you want to plant them near to your fruits and veggies, like in your garden, backyard garden. And if you look right here, you can see that the bed has filled out very nicely. The container has filled out very nicely. And we're waiting for the pentas to come on up and do their thing. You can see the promise of some blooms right there. We have some more coneflowers right here. And I just love coneflowers. They're so resilient and they hold up so well. And over here, you can see some more petunias right here. And they are just so gorgeous. I love them. Hummingbirds love them. Butterflies love them. And we love them too. And just to show you what they were looking like in the spring when I just planted them, you can see the pentas are the ones in the back that have gotten larger now, or higher I should say, and the marigolds and the petunias in the spot that I lost. So this is how they were, and this is how they are right now at their fullest. The coneflowers are fading down now because they're coming to the end of the season. But the pentas, and they're holding up so well in this heat, guys, because a lot of the flowers are getting a tough time. And I did a previous video that tells you how to care for them so that they can survive a little bit better. You can see our bee is down in there having a good time. They absolutely love these plants. And it's really good to have them in your garden. Just don't swat at them and they won't bother you too much. And if you're liking this video so far, be sure to give me a thumbs up. It helps the video go out afterwards to, more people so they can get this information. You can see we're having a couple of spent blooms right there for the marigolds, which I'll need to harvest those in another week or two. So these are the older coneflower right here. They've done their thing, and I'm going to have to take some of them off. But sometimes I like leaving a few back, for the birds, because there's some birds that like the dried seed heads that form on there. Or sometimes I'll do them in a more discreet area so it's not showing up in the flower bed as that brown coloration right there. But it just depends on what you prefer. And then back here now, the lilies, those have gone down. Behind them you see I have some roses blooming right there. And roses love when it's warm and dry. That's the perfect weather for them, and they don't like to be crowded out. When they are crowded out, they tend to get like black spot and other similar fungal diseases. So it's good to, keep them clear, and they like when it's dry. So this weather is really good for them, and just prune them back and they'll come back and give you more again. Over here we have some, this is creeping phlox, no flowers there at this point, but right behind them we have my Dutch iris, and I absolutely love Dutch iris. That's actually on my channel banner right now. And this is what they look like when they're in bloom. And I'm sure you can understand, guys, why I absolutely love these plants. And I most likely will do a video on that in the spring, or perhaps maybe in the fall. We'll see how it goes. But I just wanted to share them with you so you can see how beautiful they are. And just to scale it, you can see right here, the size of them right here, how they compare to my hand, that they're, fairly large, not as big as the regular bearded iris, but still very pretty. And then next to them over here, we have some more Easter lilies right here. And of course, these are fading out now. It is, almost the end of summer, but this is what they look like. And I did a complete video, telling you all the details of how you can use the ones that are in the containers that you get at Easter and plant them in your garden, so you can have these come back every year. And I just love when plants are repeaters because, you don't have to go and buy more. They just come back. Pretty low maintenance, these plants right here. So I'd say definitely check out that video and see if you'd like to have that in your garden. And this is a mainstay. What would our garden be without crepe myrtles in there? When everything is fading out slowly but surely, the crepe myrtles, they're such troopers. They keep going through in the hot weather and give these wonderful blooms, and I absolutely love it. They come back every year. And just for a moment to say that if you like flowers and gardening even half as much as I do, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap on the notification bell for more gardening tips and topics. So over here to the side now we have my hydrangea, and this was also affected by the winter. They came up back. Normally they'd bloom for me, but I didn't get any blooms this year. So I'm just feeding them, giving them enough energy so that they can survive really well and give me some blooms next year. And that happens sometimes. I'm just glad it didn't die because we were maybe like about 18 degrees below the typical average cold temperature for our area. And this is what they typically look like in, I should say, early summer to late spring. Usually I get blooms for Father's Day, and I use them for a nice, blue type tablescape inside my house. So none of that this year, but that happens sometimes. We'll patiently wait until they come up next year again. So that'll be wonderful to see. And sometimes they may be purple too, depending on the pH of your soil. So over here to the other side, we have some gladiolas, and I absolutely love them. One of my favorite flowers, and you can see why. Very striking color this one has here, and it's about 5 feet tall. Very, very tall. And look how beautiful they are. Hummingbirds love these as well as other types of insects. Sometimes you'll even see some ants on them. So that's a beautiful gladiolus. Next to them we have my bearded iris. You may see some little spots on there. That's because we were spraying a spider that was on there, and so I'm going to have to hose them off a little bit, so all of that will come off. But they're perfectly fine. They're pretty healthy. I do need to divide these ones out though, and I did a recent video that shows you how to divide them so that we can have more blooms, especially if you didn't get blooms for the last spring. Then that's something you may need to take a look at. And just to show you how they were looking, even though they were kind of very dense in there, the roots, they still gave me some beautiful blooms. They were looking quite fabulous, but I'll have to do the right thing, which is to go in and divide them out. You can see I have the lavender color to the left, and I have the bicolor one to the right. Now let's head around to the back. These are some beautiful Rose of Sharon right here, and this is the white one. And these were normally very short. This year they got a little bit high. You can see a bee right there. I guess he didn't like that one too much. Or maybe all the nectar is gone for the moment. But what actually happened why they're so tall is because the purple one that's normally there, it looks like it died. It got hit so hard by the winter that I just spoke about earlier. And just to show you what they normally look like over there, this is what they look like. Just absolutely fabulous. And they spread all the way out. And this is a nice attractor for hummingbirds, like early in the season when they're just coming over. And not to worry though, I did see an offshoot coming, from the ground up next beside it. So maybe in about 2 years or so, they'll get that same height again. So I'll get that pop of color. But the white one is really, really pretty. When you take a closer look, you can see how it just looks so clean, just very different. So, they got their chance to shine, and hopefully that'll keep happening for them. Over here now you can see where I just put out some bird seeds, as well as I put out some nectar for the hummingbirds and some water to help to keep them cool in the warm weather that we're having here. I should say hot. Just bear in mind that if you're in the 90s, temperature wise, or even up 80s, to be sure to change your nectar at least 3 times a week, because if not, you get a higher buildup of mold, which is harmful for them, and also the sugar ferments, and that is also bad for them as well too. And that fallen leaf you're seeing right there is a promise of the fall. So here is me enjoying my first harvest from my raised bed. And we had so many repeats of that. So many times we went in since they gave us the first batch. We've had so many thyme, the beans and the tomatoes. And you remember that when we did our first raised bed a few weeks ago, that this is how we started with it. Now regarding the petunias, if it's a case where petunias or any other plant that you have that they get some kind of a wilt, some kind of a disease, you can just take them out, but plant a different type of flower there. Don't put the same type, because the disease that they had will, attack it as well. So the marigolds are very different. So of course they survived, as well as the pentas that were there. So just a bonus tip I thought I'd want to share with you. So I want to thank you so much for watching today. I hope you'll subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to check out my other videos. So I hope that you'll have a wonderful time in your garden for the few weeks that we have left for the summer and going forward. And I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.